All right, team number 3, the New Jersey Devils, who will flip the table upside down from going 38 wins and 39 losses and the 13th ranked power play last year. I believe the 38 wins will probably be close to 50 next year. Who's in? Well, Stefan Noesen is in. Thomas Tatar is back. Paul Cotter, young guy from the Vegas Golden Knights. Brett Pesce, Brendan Dillon, and Jacob Markstrom. Who's out? Youngster Alexander Holtz, Thomas Nosek, John Marino, Kevin Ball, and Capo Kakkonen. I think what we could see from the ins and outs here is that they got better with the ins and were even better with the outs. Anyhow, let's go move on to the player tiers. 91 plus points. So over a point per game player, we have 2 candidates on the New Jersey Devils. We will start with the obvious one. Thomas Tatar. No, I'm just kidding. Jack Hughes. Jack Hughes, guys. 91 plus points this season. Given he stays healthy, I assume, right?
I think this is a no-brainer. The year before, he had 99 points in 78 games. Last year, 74 points in 62 games. This guy's just he's just got it all together. He's a star. They surrounded him with talent, and I think he's bound to go over 91 points this year. It's just to me, this isn't easy. Like if Vegas has Jack Hughes at over under 90 points, I bet the house on the over.
From your mouth to God's ears.
So Jack Hughes is absolutely a franchise center, like we were speaking about before. And the first couple of years in the NHL, he didn't really do that. But then he just exploded. Point paces of 94, 104, and 98 in 3 back-to-back seasons. So we're looking at a guy that is absolutely the franchise center, even though he sure is there. We're talking about a player that needs to stay healthy. I don't know if you guys agree, but I mean, he's gotten the opportunity. He has all the power play time in the world. He has 75% of the power play last year, but he only played 62 games. And missing those 20 games really hurts a fantasy GM who in round 1 or round 2 is looking for that center and grabs Jack Hughes. If he doesn't stay healthy, it's. Are we getting a loose leaf paper vibe or?
Well, in a redraft league that we did, I went on a limb and I took Jack Hughes over Austin Matthews because I just not assumed, but I projected him.
Okay, we're just gonna mute Junior because never again am I gonna hear something like that.
Just because I expected him to have that 100-point pace. That
over Austin Matthews?
Yeah, well, looking back now, obviously it was a dumb decision.
How are you on this podcast?
First of all, he was coming off a 99-point season in 78 games, and I was expecting even more from him. The reality is he maybe that was his peak. I don't know. No, but like Jack Hughes, like you guys said, he's a star. Like 91 plus points is exactly where he should be, but he needs to stay healthy both for himself and the New Jersey Devils. It is what it is.
Yeah, I said next player that we had in the 91 plus
Jesper Bratt, which is a little bit surprising because of his name. You know, not a lot of people talk about him, but the reality is this guy just puts up points. So last year, for the first time in his career, was a point per game player. Played 82 games. The year before, played 82 games, 73 points. Prior to that, 73 points in 76 games. Is he officially... So now we have him ranked at 91 plus points. Does that have anything to do with Jack Hughes staying healthy? Or do we just think Jesper Bratt is going to take the next step and enter his prime at 91 plus points? Personally, before you guys go on, I'm saying he's more of a point per game than a 91 plus.
I put him at 91 plus because it has everything to do with Jack Hughes playing 82 games. And he is, I mean, I know Nick looks at the stats and who you played with during the season. I guarantee you Bratt and Hughes are probably at 90% together all the time. So they're the combo in this New Jersey team. So I feel he's gonna and I feel this team is also gonna take a step forward this year. 26 hitting his prime. This is the year where he hits that over 90 points.
I think you guys are a little bit optimistic. If Jesper Bratt hits point per game, I think that's very good for Jesper Bratt. He's a very talented player. I traded him away, and
'Cause you're
I
an idiot.
regretted it. But the fact is that he's also a player that I don't think will ever hit that 90-plus point caliber. Hughes, I could see as a superstar like that. I can't see Brad as a superstar like that, and not because of his size, even though he's not a very big player, right? He's very small, or he's below average. But it's just the fact that he kind of needs that center to create a lot for him. I just don't see the 91 plus. I see him in the 80 to 90 point tier, which is the next tier down, which currently we don't have anybody in. And I think it's safe to put him in that 80 to 90 point tier. I just feel 91 plus might be a little bit overstating.
Yeah, tier 2 is a point per game.
Yeah, tier 2 point per game. That's I mean, and that's very good, guys. Like let's not kid ourselves. I just don't think that he's going to be that step, even another step forward. I just don't see it. I don't know.
Okay.
And don't forget, they're a lot deeper team than they used to be. So the fact of 19 minutes of time on ice, I don't know if he's going to do that again this year. So,
All right, so let's move on to the number 2 center on this team, the captain, Nico Hischier. 71 games played last year, 27 goals, 40 assists, 67 points. So just under a point per game pace. The year before that, 80 points in 81 games. Just under, but pretty much a point per game. And prior to that, 60 points in 70 games. So where does Nico Hischier live? Are we forgetting about him because we're speaking so much of Bratt and Hughes? Or is Hischier just a nice complementary piece that uses the fact that the teams focus on Hughes to take advantage of his matchups?
I mean, how many teams out there could say that they had 2 number 1 overall picks?
Centers, too.
And both of them, well, yeah, right. So they got their 1-2 punch, and Hischier, a lot of his value comes on his two-way play. So he does put up points. Maybe point per game, because he did hit close to it last season. 81 games played, 80 points. Sorry, the previous season.
Yeah.
Last season, he hit 67 points in 71 games. Again, pretty close to point per game. So I kind of like him in that tier 2, in my opinion. And look, guys, a lot of what I'm basing on is I think Timo Meier is going to take a big step forward. One of these 2 centers is playing with Timo Meier. And I think that it's going to help. You have Bratt, you have Timo Meier. Like, your wingers are very good wingers. And that's why I feel like these centers who are already stars in their own right are going to have the supporting cast this year maybe better than they had in previous years.
Not convinced with Nico Hischier. I think he could be a phenomenal two-way player. I don't think he can put those 80 to 82 points a year. I feel Jack...
He's done 81 before.
Yeah, Jack Hughes got hurt. So he got those minutes. So, because I like, even if he plays on power play 1, he's not option 1 on... He's not option 1, he's not option 2, and he's not option 3 on that power play.
He's in front of the net on the power
He's
play.
in front of... Exactly. So...
In the year that he got 81 points, Jack Hughes played 78 games. So it's not that Jack Hughes got hurt.
Yeah, but Jack Hughes got 99 points that year, right? If I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, on pace for 104.
Yeah. So if Jack Hughes is on pace for what we're expecting, 91 plus, I still don't think he's going to hit... I think his goal around is between 70 and 79 just because of his two-way play. I think he'll be the one who's... They're going to they're going to be dependent on him to be a very good two-way centerman to keep Jack Hughes very protected, and he'll go up against the top lines of all the other teams, which I feel might take back from his offense. And as much Timo Myers, which we'll talk about later, as much as I think I do agree that he will have a bounce back year, I feel he's the one who might be get pushed up to the first line with Hughes and Brad.
Well, Nico Hischier can't really be pushed up because he's a center. But yeah, to put him at a point per game, I think that could be his ceiling. I see him more at like the high 70s for sure. But I'm with Nick. I think Myers going to have a crazy bounce back year. I'm so high on the Devils, I have them winning the division. I'll give you a spoiler alert for next 2 weeks from now. To me, New Jersey Devils are Metropolitan Division winners and potential cup contenders.
So Timo Myers was the next player we were going to talk about. So Nick, why don't you start off with? We have him in tier, the same tier as Hischier, right?
Yeah, tier 3, 70 to 79 points.
79 points. So what do we think about Timo Myers and what he can do? Remember last year, I think, was it his first year with New Jersey last year?
First full year. He played 21 games the year before.
And they got a coaching change too this year.
And 52 points in 69 games
Yeah.
last
So
year.
Nick, what's your gauge? You already said that you think he's gonna have a bounce back year. What kind of bounce back year are we looking at?
I think Timo Meyer has the ability to have 75 points this year.
Okay.
And the reason why I'm saying that is not because he scored 40 in the 2022-23 year, but because I think he's a 35 goal scorer. 30 to 35 goals perennially moving forward is how I see Timo Meyer. And we're talking about 19 minutes of time on ice is when he produces well. Last year, he only had 17 minutes of time on ice. I don't think that's the kind of player he is. 17 minutes is a, second, third line player?
No, it's a second line player.
But that middle six, you're not talking about a top line winger.
No.
And I feel like you can't tell me that Palat is better than him. You can't even tell me that Mercer is better than him.
No. Well, the people who tell you that are smoking some good.
But if you look at daily
legal weed.
lineups, if you look at daily face-off and look at their lineups right now, those are the type of players that are competing for top six roles with Timo Meyer. Timo Meyer should be playing 19 minutes a night. And if they're coming in this year and play him 19 minutes a night, he's going to go back to that 35 to 40 goal Timo Meyer. You need him to be playing minutes. You're paying the guy to $8 million. You've got to start playing him what he's worth.
We're talking about an off year. The guy scored 28 goals in 69 games. An
But it was
off
only,
year.
It was only a 62-point pace.
But
That's the part that hurt.
But
This is
if he
what's-
scores 35 to 40 goals, it's
may-
not an off year, even
No.
if he has 60 points.
Timo Meyer is a goal scorer. You're not going to see Timo Meyer pull up the 40 goals and 40 assists. It's going to be the 40 goals and the 20 to 25 assists.
Sure.
And this is why I do believe
Still very valuable in fantasy.
no 100%. This is
100%.
this is why I believe what Nick is saying is right. I do not believe he's a 28 goal scorer. I think he's more in the 35 to 40 goal scorer.
Yeah, I think
70 to
35 is safe to average for him.
70 to 75-point pace, but 35 goals.
I
right?
could see him
Which in
being
leagues where goals are more important than assists, he's a very valuable player. At
in
that
the
price.
most ideal situation and everything goes his way. I can easily see him 35 goals, 35 assists. Easy.
In hit leagues, he puts up 154, 160 hits per game per season. Again, it has to be 19 minutes per time on ice, average. It can't be 17 like last year, because that's why he didn't produce last year.
Listen, well, preseason will tell us everything, right? On the lineups and stuff like that. So it'll be exciting to see the tier 4 player.
The next two topics will be very interesting. So let's
Oh.
jump to tier 4, 60 to 69 points. We have one player, a defenseman, coming off a long-term injury, Dougie Hamilton. This is going to be interesting because and I'll tee it up, and then I'll let you guys take off. In his absence, Luke Hughes took the reins of power play 1. 47 points, I believe, in 82 games for Luke Hughes last year. 25 power play points. Most of them came after the injury, right? So we think Hamilton retakes his position and stays a 60-point defenseman. Or is he dipping? Where do you guys stand here?
I think Hamilton takes back his number one defenseman position, the number one PP position. We'll talk about Luke Hughes. I feel Luke Hughes will have a step back here this year, back to reality. But Dougie Hamilton, he's just too talented to put any of these young defensemen in front of him. He's proven that he's just a unbelievable defenseman. I mean, 2022-2023, 74 points. 2021-2022, 62 games, 30 points. He's always been in that range. And I feel with New Jersey, with the talent he has around him, especially on the power play, like I don't see this power play ranking 13th overall next year. I feel it going in the top 10. And I feel it's because Dougie Hamilton will be there.
Nick, you've been smashing that pen like you've had something you really want to talk about. So,
well, look, so I want to preface it with Dougie Hamilton absolutely has the talent. You're absolutely right. But there's a reason I traded him, and I kind of targeted. I was having a lot of cap issues in Project Llama. Mm-hmm. I needed to move money out. So I knew that I wasn't going to get top value because I was trading a player that was injured all year. I had to get something in return, and I ended up getting the 15th overall pick and Rasmus Sandin. Now, in retrospect, it's selling low, and I accepted a trade that was lower than I should have. I probably should have waited a little bit longer and tried to gauge the market in the offseason a little bit longer. Listener Adam got a very good trade from me. But I will tell you one reason why I did, or two reasons why I did trade Dougie Hamilton away, is that last year in the 20 games he did play, he had 16 points, which people are going to say, hey, that's a great pace, right? 66-point pace for a defenseman is great. But he only had 35% of the power play exposure. That's not power play 1 minutes. Even so, Luke Hughes didn't take over power play 1 because Hamilton got injured. Luke Hughes took power play 1 before Hamilton got injured. The other thing I'll mention is that he's coming off a season-long injury at age 31. It gives me pause because at an $8 million player, it's a big risk having a full season injury and expecting him to come back at the same level that he was before. Can it happen? Absolutely, it could happen. We saw Patrick Kane come off a huge injury and still produce points. I'm not saying it's impossible. I hesitate to say that it's going to be every player like that. So I decided to sell on Dougie Hamilton because I needed the cap space. People will argue that I didn't get enough, and I think I didn't get enough in return. With that 15th overall pick, I ended up picking Connolly.
Trevor Connolly?
Yeah, Trevor Connolly from the Vegas draft pick, who had some off-ice issues and some on-ice issues as well. But talented player. We'll see if that pays off for me in the long run. But I hesitate to say that Hamilton will simply just come back and be power play 1 and will be able to put up 70 points again coming off the injury that he came off at 31 years old. Drew?
I sold him low as well. I was contending for a top 3 spot in LPHL, and I traded him for Brent Burns and like a 3rd-round pick, which is brutal. Absolutely brutal, but I wanted to stay in contention, and Burns helped me out for the first couple of weeks and then kind of disappeared. But those are decisions you make when you're going for it. They're difficult decisions, but at the end of the day, it got you in a prize money spot, I think, in Lama.
I traded him in the offseason, but in order for me to keep the team that I had last year, which finished top 3, I needed to save money somewhere. So it was either save money on Dougie Hamilton or trade Vasilevsky or trade right? There's only so much. You can't just trade your $2 million players and think you're making enough cap space. You got to trade somebody big in cap league sometimes. And this year, for me, it was Dougie Hamilton, and it hurts because my defense is suffering now because of it.
Look, do I think he gets power play one time? Not necessarily right away. I'm not sure how this goes out because I believe it's going to be a new coach.
It is a new coach.
It is
Yes, right? Because Hamilton, the last game Hamilton played, Lindy Ruff was still head coach of that team.
That's right.
So things are going to change. How much do they change? Like, I don't know what that means for Hamilton. Do we know who the coach is? I can't remember.
Yeah, we do know who the coach is.
Anyhow, look, I mean, oftentimes, anytime a young guy has like a crazy rookie year, we automatically assume he's not going to have a good year in his sophomore year. I think he's well insulated, Luke Hughes, that he can reap.
Sheldon Keefe.
Oh, yeah, Sheldon Keefe. Wow.
How do you forget these things, Junior?
Wow.
In all honesty, I had a memory blank.
But I knew it was obvious. But look, I see Sheldon Keefe utilizing Luke Hughes. You can't not use Luke Hughes after the season he had and just go from 21 minutes a game now to 18.
Doesn't mean that Hamilton won't be productive.
No, he's definitely still going to be productive. This is going to be a high-scoring team, and I think they're going to fluctuate between Hamilton and Hughes on power play one. I just don't think it's going to be constant just Hamilton or constant just Hughes. It's going to be a back-and-forth thing.
You guys want a controversial statement? I think Nemec is going to be a better hockey defenseman in the NHL than Luke Hughes.
Yeah, but fantasy-wise, Luke Hughes right now is...
I think Nemec... I think right now, yes, Luke Hughes. I think Nemec will surpass Luke Hughes.
I want to put an asterisk here. The asterisk is that you own Nemec.
Yeah, but that...
And you don't own Luke
I own
Hughes.
Nemec as well.
I had Luke Hughes in LPHL and I traded him, but I feel Nemec is going to be a better, not only all-around defenseman for the Devils, but I feel points-wise, fantasy, he at one point will take over the power play one.
It's possible. I mean, look, I'm
Hughes.
going to say it's possible not because I think it's going to happen. I don't think it's going to happen, but Nemec's talent level is out there. At one point,
people don't know.
I was really hoping you were going to trade him to me.
That's what I'm saying. People right now, people are correlating Luke Hughes with his brother Jack Hughes and Quinn Hughes, and correlating that he's going to become. And I'm not saying he's a bad player. To have Luke Hughes and Nemec as your future defenseman, God bless you. Any team would take that, but I still feel that Nemec will be that number one defenseman on that New Jersey Devils team.
To be fair, what I'm correlating when I look at these two, and I have high hopes for Nemec as well, but I have to be honest, what worries me is in a season where Luke Hughes played 82 games and Nemec played 60, Hughes was the go-to guy on the power play, not Nemec. So Hughes took the reins. Hughes outplayed Nemec on the to get that power play opportunity.
Hughes was there before Nemec. Nemec was starting the AHL.
But they only played 22 games different.
Yeah, but
Nemec...
I understand, but Luke Hughes started hot. You're not taking a hot player off the power play.
But
19 points in 60 games is not a lot. Like, honestly, I'm just saying, like, there's a lot of competition in New Jersey, and that's what scares me for Nemec, knowing that he couldn't even take Luke Hughes' spot.
I think what Vince was trying to say that in their primes, which are going to be around the same time, that he thinks Nemec is going to be a better player and a better power play person than Luke Hughes. We're not talking about year 1 or 2. We're talking
All around
about
player, yes, but I think power play wise, it might still be Hughes.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think that it will still be Hughes because he has that offensive pedigree. But you never know.
It doesn't mean he can be productive though with points. Nemec, he can still be.
Hamilton is not a spring chicken either. 31 years old, coming off an injury.
Hamilton's got.
You might see Nemec and Hughes power play 1, power play 2. And who knows who's going to be where exactly? We'll see.
The biggest upgrade, Nick, that the Devils did. Are we going there?
Well, it's Junior's team, so I don't want to.
Jacob Markstrom, save percentage 905, goals against average 2.78. Goals save above expected was 14th in the league for goalies that played a minimum of 20 games. And then we have Jake Allen, whose save percentage was 895, goals against average 3.44. 35th in the league in goals saved above expected. So definitely an improvement from Akira Schmid and
Kakinen
and
Jesus,
Jake
Vanacek.
Allen.
Vanacek. And so, I mean, the biggest hole they had was in goal. And it was the primary reason. So, I'll give you this stat and then I'll let you guys go. Goals for 12th in the league, the New Jersey Devils.
Man,
Pretty good, right?
You took it, Junior. So I was gonna go.
Tell me about it.
So Junior was gonna finish off with goals against. They were ranked 26th.
Yeah.
They will not be ranked 26th this year in goals against. With Markstrom and nets, especially Markstrom. If you look at his stats, every time he's on a new team, it seems like he's rejuvenated for that 1 year. So and this is the year that it's first year with New Jersey, has a better defensive line in front of him. So I feel those goals against is gonna go not 26th, but it's gonna go way up. And this is the piece they needed to take the next step. I can't say anything else about that goalie.
I think it was the perfect fit.
Yeah.
I think it was supposed to be the perfect fit from the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
They fell into some trade negotiation problems which delayed the trade, but finally it ended up happening. And Markstrom is absolute, and Jake Allen actually. Let's not kid ourselves. Jake Allen as a backup is a very good backup.
Yeah, like his numbers don't reflect that because I think they overplayed him last year. But I think this is the piece they needed. This is the jump that New Jersey is going to make.
And on top of that, they solidified their D with Dylan and Pesci.
I think Pesci is very underrated addition.
Even Dylan on the PK. So prospects. I mean, Junior, do we have much to talk about?
We spoke of Nemec. We spoke of user Seamus Casey, who's another up and coming defenseman. I don't know how many they need on top of Anton Silyev, who they just drafted as well. So they've got a Nico Dawes in goal. I don't know where, like Nico Dawes, maybe could have a nice future, knowing that Markstrom is not the youngest, Allen is not the youngest, so he's the next man up.
He's in a good situation.
And that's it. I think we can move on to final thoughts.
Go ahead.
Well, I'll let you say what's written there because I just want to say one thing. Every single year, I think New Jersey wins the offseason. Every single year, I walk into the offseason and say, wow, this is the most improved team there possibly can be. And I'm talking about from the moment they got Hamilton, from the moment that from the moments they had Subban. Like, I was absolutely ecstatic with every move they do in the offseason, and they always let me down. So I want to be as excited as you guys are because I could hear the excitement in your voices.
Oh, baby, they're taking Carolina's spot, my friend.
I just don't. I've been burned too many times. And trust me, I'm a Raiders fan. I know about burning. You know, every offseason I walk in as a Raiders fan and I say, wow, this year might be the year. And every year they don't make the playoffs. Or Derek Carr gets hurt in the first playoff appearance. And anyways. Speaking of which, by the way, just on a tangent, I will be on the Bush League Huddle podcast on Tuesday talking about the Raiders. So if you guys want to tune into Bush League Huddle, they're doing a team-by-team preview, kind of like we are now in the offseason. Mm-hmm. And they invited me over to speak on fantasy football for the Raiders. So
don't embarrass us, man.
I'm sure that they're going to ask you for the 49ers.
Oh, great. I'm definitely going to embarrass you guys.
He's talking about the Raiders. So.
Yeah, there's not much embarrassment. You could go further than that, right?
Junior, final thoughts.
All right, speaking of embarrassment, well, according to Dom, they're the total opposite of an embarrassment, the Devils, this offseason, ranking them second in the league for most improved team in the offseason. They filled their holes in goal with Markstrom and Allen. Filled their need of NHL defensemen, reliable defensemen on D with Pesci and Dylan. Personally, I think they seem poised for a nice cup run. Last year, I think we were naive with the numbers Vanacek put up with, was it Washington?
And Schmid.
And Schmid put up. So, I think we were just naive thinking that automatically they can do that again. With the additions of Pesci and Dylan and Markstrom and Allen, they literally have no more holes. I'm just curious to see what Mercer gets paid because he's still an RFA. But this team has all the tools to be a legit cup contender.